now, this is, well, you've seen me around at SAR before, so I'm Dave, and I'm a retired firefighter, so that makes me the resident pyro. So that's what we're going to talk about now is how to get campfires, get a good campfire going wherever you are, and all the stuff around here is just loaded with material. Now, everybody has gone through some sort of basic training in school, so you know what fire is, right?
You got
You fuel, heat, and oxygen, right?
You need to talk over. I can hardly hear you right here.
Oh, okay.
Use your outside voice.
Project, yeah. So we need is fuel, heat, and oxygen. So the fuel is all around you. You're going to supply the heat with whatever ignition device you're going to use, or whatever fire starter you're going to use to be the initial heat energy to get it going. So by putting those three together, you get the fire started. Put it out, you take one of the three away. And we always talk about putting water on a fire, you're taking the heat away. Now, the other thing is, you can add more air to a fire, it burns hotter and faster. Less air, it darkens down. Okay, think about like inside of a potbelly stove with a damper. You can dampen it down, it burns slower. You open it up, it burns faster and hotter. So that's the same thing you're gonna do with this. By using different setups, and most of it is just the way you lay out the wood. All right, now, there's, you gotta start with something. So there's like, wood, the fuel is classed in three different ways. It's gonna be tinder, kindling, and then fuel. And you're gonna start small and go bigger. How it ignites, you can think of like a surface area to mass ratio. The more surface area you got, that's easier to light. The more mass you got, it's harder to light. So you build up stage to stage to stage. Something like this has a lot of surface area, but no mass, right? So you can light paper. I'm sure you've all done it before. It'll take right off. If you try to light something like a log with a big lighter, it's going to take a while to get that going, right? So I'm going to start with, you go out and get the smallest stuff like this. You can find it all over. And when you're looking for wood out there, you want stuff that's not laying on the ground, as dry as possible. The most dry stuff is going to be standing upright, and even though and dead, okay? Like that right there is dead. And if you look around here, if you look up there, you can see an awful lot that's all laying down, but is not on the ground. Especially up over there between the pine trees, behind that outhouse up there, you see a pine tree that's laying down? Perfect. Whole bunch of sticks. So there's all kinds of tinder and kindling up there. And one thing you want to look for is that when you snap this stuff, you can go up and you can snap the end of it. And if it's springy and it just bends over, that's too green. Green won't ignite very well. What you want is dry. So if you snap it, it'll make a click. You hear that? You just click it right over. You're going to start small with this. And you need a bundle about that big around. Real small amount. You can start that. That goes over the top of your fire starter. As you work up keep working up in size, as it starts, you then go to the next level, a little bit bigger. It all snaps. And you just keep right on going, bigger and bigger. Now, we'll do it that way. Anyway, bigger and bigger, as long as it keeps snapping. And you can keep going up. And, okay, you still got the snap. You know it's still solid. Stuff that's on the ground is going to be soggy and it's going to break apart, but you want it to be solid and snap. All this came from right up here. So, and then once you got a fire going, then you're going to move to this is fuel. Once this is going, you're going to get up to this size. Now the question is, can you bring out branches down? And if you got stuff that's a little bit bigger, can you break it down? And how can you like get past the moss and the wet bark that's on it? A lot of it just flakes right off. Let me show you on this one. You can see the way it's flaking off of there, and you get down to the wood. You can scrape some of it off with a knife edge, or you can start cutting it down. I always carry one of these. It's just a simple little saw. I'll pass it around, but it's really lightweight. And you can open up and it locks back, and with a saw like that, you can start cutting stuff. The ones that are on pocket knives, like Swiss Army knives, are way too small. You'll be sitting there trying to cut through. Now, once you get up to this size, this will go right through it. The second around point is just that how light it is and how easy it is to use. Now, most of what you do in SAR with a knife, you could use a small little pocket knife. That'll be like 99% of what you're going to do. But then I think Todd just talked about knives down there. You can use one. This is about the only one where you really need a big knife or a bigger knife. And when you're looking for a knife like you want something that's solid, that's got a tang that goes all the way through it. This is a made in USA buck. They're like Buck, Gerber. It's something that's US made, German, Swedish, even Japanese. But forget about any kind of lockback one, and forget about the ones that are more artsy. Or with like the Chinese ones. You want something to solve. I'll pass this one around. You can feel it. There's some weight to it, and it's all solid metal. Now, even though it's got a flat spot, you never pound a knife this way because you can't control it. You can't, it'll pop out on you. And when you're cutting anything or pounding anything, make sure it's always away. You're always going to cut away from you. Keep control of the blade and always away. And you can't keep control of the blade if you're holding it like this and trying to pound it. Why they put a flat pommel on them is so that you could pound 10 steaks with it. Something like that. That's why they make a flat metal end on the thing. But it's not to be pounded on this way. Now, and there is a one way to do it, and I'll show you in a sec, is as you go through with that small saw, you can saw down pieces like this, and if you save a solid one, you can use this as a baton, like a club, okay? And I will pick one. Now, I'll do like this, because now even though it's wet and mossy on the outside, okay, again, you don't do this because it can easily come back at you. Don't do that. The way to do it is to control the blade, hold it in place, and you can take a baton and drive it right through. Okay? And then if you keep going, you can keep making smaller pieces of timber on this, and you keep getting, even though it's got moss and wet on the outside, when you get to the inside, pass it around. When you get to the inside of it, you got drier, usable wood. Now, one of the chiefs may be if some of it's broken down. Yesterday, I walked up that trail, about 100 yards, the tree that's down, and I peeled this stuff off the bottom of it. And this stuff is perfect because it's already opened up, it's already ready to go. And you use this as the kindling. There is one other cheat that you could use, is to put to carry a couple little pieces of actual wood kindling. You can buy a big bundle over at Safeway. Under $5. Wonder where you can get this stuff. Safeway has these for $4.99, and for a couple of these because they don't weigh anything. But again, it's like perfect wood for starting stuff. Okay, now when you get to how are you going to start? So how are you going to start it? Well, I got a question for you. What are you planning on using? How are you going to ignite this fire? What do you got on you right now?
Lighter and matches.
Lighter and matches?
Yeah.
Anybody gutsy ones going for the ferro rods?
Oh, we have those too.
Yeah, we got one there. Okay. Yeah, stick lighters work great, except for two things. One, if they get wet, they won't spark. Also, if it's really cold out, they don't really work very well. You don't get the gas out of them. But if you carry them inside of a baggie, you carry more than one, carry two, because they don't weigh anything. You can still get the spark. Now, also, like, look at this. It doesn't want to go in the wind. So you have to shield it. Another one is the good old matches in the waterproof container. This eliminates the idea that it's going to get wet, and it makes specialized matches too, besides farmer matches that are a little bigger. Like that, they'll burn longer. But yeah, they're also a waterproof container. Anybody got these? Waterproof? Yeah. Send that one around. The other thing is good. Now this is It's a ferro rod, and it's for sparking. But there's some confusion on how to use one of these because it is a little bit harder to use. Have you ever tried starting a fire with one?
Yeah.
It's a little more difficult. There is something of a trick to it. You can use the edge of the blade, or you can use the back square right here. Now here's the debate: do you go strike the blade away, or do you pull the ferro rod? Yeah, pull the ferro rod, and like where you want or what you want to ignite, you can draw it against it slowly. And what you're doing is you end up peeling off some of the same material. So when you do strike it, it's going to hit bad, and it's going to flare up even more. Okay? So yeah, but if you're just going to stand there and try to do this and try to get it to go, they do throw a nice hot spark. But you hold it first, scrape some of the material off, and then you get more of a spark going. Okay? Yeah, because also the advantage is if it's wet, it doesn't matter. These will go anytime, any altitude. You can just like zap. You can throw a nice hot spark. There is something about how far should we go? The heat of a fire, you can tell by the color. You know, on your stovetop, it's blue. That's on the very cool end of things. And you move up through orange, red, yellow, and then you get up to white. So it's white hot. That's why these sparks work. Is that it's white hot. It's a lot hotter than a simple flame is. Okay. Now, for fire starters. Okay. Let me talk about one other thing. If you're really gutsy, you want more weight. So if you don't want to carry it out with a knife, something like this, a small, lightweight version. This one even has a saw and handle, but it's more weight. And how many people subscribe to the theory of was it grams equal ounces, ounces equal pounds, pounds equal pain? So the more you can take out of your backpack and make it lighter, the better. But if you want to, this is probably the easiest way to go. One other thing is that when you have edges like this, you can not only scrape off the bark and get down to what is the dry stuff. The other thing is if you could chop it up and say like this, that stuff makes great tinder. Okay. Now for the actual fire starters. Okay, I stopped at Holiday Store, Holiday Outdoors.
Holiday Sports?
Yes, right on Highway 20. Any outdoor store you go to, they got a whole range of them. Now I bought a whole bunch of them to test, so you don't have to. And I have a bunch right here, and you can use any one of these you want if you want to try them out. And I'll give you another version. And okay, this stuff is they call them fire sticks. What it is pine. And pine sticks like this, they come out of pine and they got a lot of resin in them. You can actually smell the resin because this will ignite even faster than dry wood will. Okay, then they also make them out of sawdust and wax, and you can get them in little wafers, so you can have a wafer to take out there. But again, you're carrying bulk and weight. But whatever you want to try, this one, this is called fire paste. And it's a tube. It's a squeeze tube of gel. You squeeze across it, and then you light that. That's going to burn. Okay, this one's not bad, but you can try any one of these. But this, and here's another one. These little tabbers that they're calling tinder. You can try. Anyone who wants to try any of these, you can try them out. But this is my favorite. These little packets, because this is called Ignito. So if you want to try Ignito, you can try it. It's just kind of silly because you pay about $5 for each one of these things. There's another way to do this, and what I am doing is you get these little cotton squares. Walgreens, this is like $2 for one of these big bags of them, and you get this whole thing of cotton. You can get cotton rounds, cotton squares, and 100% cotton. And if you have any old candles around, you can melt it down on a stovetop. You melt it down and then put a little blip of something like lamp oil in there, and you end up making these. They're like little wafers. And I made let's see here. 3 baggies full of them for about $2. So it's like a lifetime supply for, it'll take a while to go through these, but all you do is tear it. They're waterproof, and all you gotta do is tear it, and it exposes the fibers, the cotton fibers. That's what's gonna start this thing going, because that's like the smallest area to light, and then they're gonna start burning. Okay? So if you wanna pass one around, so you can smell it, it's candle wax or just a dash of lamp oil. Too much lamp oil and it won't quite dry out right. But
How are these made? This candle wax lamp oil?
yeah,
a
a little
dash of lamp
melted
oil.
candle wax, a little blip of lamp oil in there. You can also use charcoal starter if you want.
On like a cotton thing?
On those cotton pads. Those cotton pads, you get a big bag of them for nothing. Yeah, for like $2. If all you gotta do is tear it.
Doesn't smell like one though.
So all you gotta do is tear the thing and then light it.
Those are awesome.
So if you want to try them out, the other thing is try them out with different ignition methods, whether it's a match, a lighter, and this is the time to try out your ferro rod if you got one. Give it a whack, see how it works, see how easy it is. Now, when you build this thing, I got a couple examples out here. A lot of this is just kind of like stylized, like a little bit of engineering to it. Everybody's done the TP fires, right? You start small and you TP them all together, and then they burn, thing collapses in. That does work. It's an efficient way of doing it. That's why they teach it in Boy Scouts. That's an efficient way of doing it. You can go on to more interesting or effective ways to get it going once it gets launched. This one, you build a square around it. It's wide open for air to come into it, and you can build a TP fire right down in the middle of it, and it's going to burn and it's going to continue to ignite. But it's wide open, so that's about the hottest version you can get. All right. This one has been around forever. The idea with the longer logs, bigger logs, you don't have to cut them up so much. Okay, build a fire right in the center, and as it burns, it's going to start igniting all the edges of each log around it. And as it burns, you just slide them together and keep sliding them in. And if you have a much longer one, lay it over the top, it'll burn in half. Now you had one log, now you got 2 to put over it. Those burn in half, now you got 4. So I'll send these out. There's one other, I guess I could pass the wind is kind of messy. I was going to pass some of these around. Another one that's interesting is called, I can't dig one, but you dig a hole. You're going to dig a hole to put about 1.5 to 2 feet in diameter and about 1.5 feet down. About 1 foot away from it, you dig another hole, about the same size, and cut a hole and then scoop off underneath. That's called a Dakota fire hole. The fire is burning in this one below ground, and air is coming in the other hole and blowing through it. It burns efficient, and you can cook over it. It's more controllable. And if you have relief no trace, you cut away the grass on the top, and after you're done, you put the fire out with water, and then put the dirt back in the hole, and it doesn't look like anything was there. There'll be a little bit of disturbed dirt. One thing I didn't mention yet is one of the things you got to watch for when you're setting this up out there is be careful what the ground looks like around you. This time right now, it's all soaking wet. You're not at the risk of the fire getting out of control. But if you're out there in the summer, clear away the area around where you're going to build this fire at until you get down to the ground. And then you can put a ring of rocks around it to help contain it in one spot. But one thing is with the rocks, don't get them straight out of the river. So they're easy to use because they're clean, but if they've been soaking in water like that, they're saturated with water. And as it gets hot from the fire, it's going to turn to steam and it'll split the rocks. All right. One other thing they talk about in some of the fire manuals is to use 2 chemical ignition sources. Okay, we have 2 chemicals that react, and when we put them together, they flare up. Don't do that. A couple different reasons. One, if something leaks inside your backpack and you saturate your sleeping bag and whatever, whether it's not good, or it can throw chunks because some of these are more solid. And the other thing, the fumes that are going to come off this are incredibly toxic. When you combine some of these substances, when they burn together, are extremely toxic. So don't use that. Don't. Okay. Now. Okay. Anybody got any questions? Okay. Now we got Let me get to the fun part. Right around you, everywhere, is all sorts of material. So if you could split into teams, instead of each individual doing one, have each team build one.
Yep, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Alpha and Bravo, 2 teams.
Yeah. So split into teams. Okay. Find some material and get a fire going. Well, that's kind of
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I looked at the window today. I was like,
Well, and like when we're on Bravo and Charlie. Yeah. Break out now.
You guys do.
No, I did not. I thought
Well, sort of.
We're team Alpha A. Alpha A, because Alpha B.